Hello, my name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. So it is time for my what I'm reading right now for January 2019. We are in 2019 now, guys. It's kind of wild. I think we are just about done with all the videos that are sort of ending 2018 and starting 2019 for me. I think you will be seeing one more on Wednesday and then we will be done. And that is going to be 19 books that I want to read in 2019, which I'll reference a couple of times in today's video because I've already started making some progress on those. So far, 2019 January reading has not been the best. Like, it's not been bad. So like nothing that I've read so far this month has been terrible. It's just consistently things have not been as good as I wanted them to be. They've been mostly just sort of okay. So we'll do kind of a quick rundown of that because I think most of that I'll talk about in my end of the month wrap up, but just to give you sort of a rundown, the two best things I've read so far this month, unquestionably, like the only ones that are a 4 or higher. So the first was Luna and the Lie by Mariana Zapata, which I initially gave a 4.5 and I sat with it and decided to bump it back down to a 4. It was really just, I love her version of contemporary romance, and this was a return to form, I think, for her, so I really enjoyed that. And then unquestionably, my favorite thing I've read so far this month was Trail of Lightning by Roanhorse, which I kept wanting to make time for and kept getting pushed off, and I'm actually kind of glad I pushed it off because now I don't have to wait as long for the next one because holy smokes, I need to know what happens. Like, I love this. Like, so some of the pacing, well, you know what, let me just save that for the end of the month because I have so many things I want to say about this, but let me just tell you that there's always a Kate Daniels sized hole in my heart of like looking for a new kind of like urban fantasy / dystopian-ish type of series that I'm gonna absolutely love, and like this is like filling that void for me now because I'm like, yes, this is so dark and so good and the world is so interesting and I just love the characters. Like, yeah, it was just great. So those were definitely the two best things I read so far this month. And then, like I said, I just had a lot of things that were sort of just okay. So like I read 2 memoirs that I had as arcs. One was called The Elephant in the Room by Tomlinson, and the other was Thick by Tressie McMillian Cottam. And both of them were 3 stars. Like, they were fine. Maybe I'll talk more about this at the end of the month, but my problem with The Elephant in the Room was I didn't feel like there was enough like insight for a memoir. And I felt like there was also some like self-loathing that the author wasn't, I think, fully aware of. Anyway, it just didn't, it was 3, it was fine. It was good, you know, it was perfectly okay. It just wasn't great. And then Thick was actually quite disappointing to me only because I really like Tressie McMillian Cottam. I, you know, see her a lot on Twitter and really enjoy her. I've heard her interviewed, just like her a lot. And I really liked the content of this personal memoir or like personal essay type collection. It's a lot about like kind of intersectional feminism and lots of different things. And it was recommended to me as like, oh, if you liked Eloquent Rage, you're really gonna like Thick. And it's good, and I think other people might like it more than I did. I think for me, the authorial voice and the sort of flow of the essays didn't work for me, which is, again, very idiosyncratic to my own taste, or maybe even just the mood I was in when I was reading it. But I just couldn't fully get into the flow of it, and that kept me from really liking it as much as I wanted to. So that was really disappointing because I really wanted to love that. But those were 2 examples of things that were just okay to me. The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. So this is a YA fantasy that is set in sort of like Gilded Age-esque Paris, and it's an alternative history fantasy situation, and it has been getting so much hype. It also has like a heist element to it, which I really love, and I know a lot of people do. I had seen nothing but just like, this is amazing, this is like going to be one of the best fantasies of 2019, like this is awesome. And while I think it was good, like I enjoyed it, I would recommend it to you. Like, read the description. If you think it sounds good, you're gonna like it. Like, it's well done. I like the character, like everything about it was likable. I enjoyed my time with it, but I didn't think it was nearly as sort of like innovative or groundbreaking as people were kind of talking about it being, or just like the best, like quality wise. I think the writing's not, I mean, it's good. I gave it a 3.5 star. I enjoyed it. I would recommend it, but I I think it was hyped up to me so much I didn't love it as much as maybe I was expecting to. So I guess I would just give you like that word of warning of like, it is good, it's enjoyable. I think if you read the description and think it sounds good, I think you're gonna like it. But at least for me, it wasn't just as like stellar as I was sort of hyped up to believe it was. So just FYI there. And then I got in the mood to read some literary fiction, so I picked up Housekeeping by Marilynne Robinson, which is a book that I've literally meant to read for years. Like, I started it, got about, I think, 40 pages in and kind of got distracted, but I was in the mood to read some literary fiction. I was like, oh, this is one I definitely want to read this year, so I should make time and do that. And it was good. Like, it's beautifully written. Marilynne Robinson is just like her writing is just stellar. And it was interesting, but I guess I just was left sort of like cold by it. Like, I just didn't connect with this fully. Gilead by Marilynne Robinson is one of my all-time favorite novels. Like, it made me weep. I absolutely loved it and really emotionally fully was invested in that story. And I think the people who don't like Gilead and kind of talk about it just like not having a plot or whatever, or just not liking it, I think I can understand where they're coming from more now with this book, because as much as I admire it in terms of understanding why it's considered just essentially be like kind of a modern classic, and again, the writing I really enjoyed, it was 3 stars for me. It just didn't fully turn all the way over, so that was kind of disappointing too. Marilynne Robinson is a really great writer, and I definitely will read more from her, but this particular one, yeah. I mean, I'm glad I finally got to it because I've been meaning to do that for years, but yeah, it was sort of disappointing. And then similarly, and I know this is going to be kind of controversial, but I read In an Absent Dream the day I got it, which is the day it came out, and it was good. It was I gave this 3 stars. This is not bad. The world, the Goblin Market world in this is great. Like, I loved that piece, and I don't even know that if this was in a different context I wouldn't have liked it more. I think for me this was so kind of like fairy tale like and parable-esque, and that's just not what I really am expecting from the Wayward Children series. I think what this kind of clarified for me is part of what I really like about these books is, yes, I do really like the portal world that they're going into and like kind of the conceit of seeing both places, both our world and the portal world, but I really like the boarding school aspect of this, and we really don't get any of that in this book. And or I really like seeing characters that I already know and love in the books. So like, for instance, Down Among the Sticks and Bones doesn't really have much of the school piece in it at all, but Jack is unquestionably my favorite character in the entire series to date. So it doesn't really, like, I was fine with, I liked spending all the time in the fantasy world with her because I loved her and like wanted to spend time with her. Whereas this is a sort of like kind of a, I think a new character, maybe, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Nnedi we saw in previous books. If we did, she didn't make much of an impression on me. So I didn't really have that piece, and we weren't seeing the school at all. So yeah, and I mean, we did spend time in the Goblin Market, but because of the sort of fairy tale-esque piece of this, we actually spent a lot of time kind of in our world, but not at the school. Anyway, all that to say, this isn't bad at all. I would still, if you like the previous ones, like, still read this. It's enjoyable, and it's short, so it's not like it's a huge time commitment. I liked it, but I didn't love it, and that was a surprise to me because I've really been enjoying this series to date. And I think maybe my takeaway from this is I need to vet the future kind of synopses of these more closely than I had been. I had been sort of in the mode of like, whatever she puts out in this series I'll read, and maybe I'm not quite there anymore. Just because I think I really do either want a character I care about or I want to spend time at the boarding school going forward. So yeah, that feels really negative. And again, I don't think any of the books I've talked about, I've not given any of them less than a 3 star. So it's not that they were bad, they just weren't as good. Now, one thing that was better than I remember it being was my read of The Murder at the Vicarage, which I think by now you guys have seen my first Mission Marple review video on that. And yeah, this was so good. And so transitioning into things that I'm reading / about to read, so I've started the next Marple book, which is The 13 Problems, which is my favorite Marple book in theory. So I'm really excited to get into that. That's a collection of like loosely related short stories featuring Miss Marple. So I'm finishing that up so that I can have my review up next week for that. So I've got that going. I've got an audiobook called Hacking the American Mind by Robert Lustig going right now, which is okay. I'm not sure. I'm kind of iffy if I'm gonna finish it because I don't know. I wanted to read it because it's essentially about like how brands use kind of certain parts of our neural makeup against us to sort of like hook us into buying their products. And it's taking a long time to get to that piece of it. And that's the thing I was most interested in. So those are, it's okay. We'll see if I finish it. So those are the two that I have going. In terms of things I'm going to read next, I got the audiobook of Dating Men When You Hate Men out, and I just thought that I kind of loved that title. I think it's sort of like a memoir essay type thing, so we'll see how I do with that. I literally just got a notification that I got Bad Blood by John Carreyrou out from the library, so I definitely will be listening to that audiobook in short order. So I've got those going. I've got Memory in Death, which is the next J.D. Robb book out from the library, which, as you guys have already, I think, heard me talk about. My goal is to catch up with the In Death series this year, so I figured that I need to read about 2 of those a month to do that. Now, I say that, really my goal, I have a book about the In Death series, like a literary analysis book on it that was written in 2017, so I want to be able to read that book this year, so I want to get at least caught up to that point in this year. So I've got that happening. I've got, what kind of arcs do I have that I need to read? Oh, I've got A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer, I think is her name. And I'm kind of worried about it because I requested it when I just heard that it was like a cool new take on a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I was like, sign me up, that is my catnip. But then Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany was reading it, and she let me know that it is the first in a series, which I did not realize, and I'm not sure how I felt about that. She also felt like it was really flabby in the middle, and so I don't know. I'm a little apprehensive about that one. I am really excited to read The Wolf in a Whale by Jordanna Max Bradley, maybe is the author's name. I'm assuming you're seeing the cover here. That person. I am way excited about this. This is basically a fantasy with Inuit and Viking lore, and it also has a lot of like romance elements to it, and I'm like, this sounds like my deal. So it's kind of a big weighty one, so I think my plan is next weekend to settle in with it and just enjoy like glomming my way all the way through that. And then I also got an arc of the BINTI, the 3-volume work bound up together. So BINTI was by Nnedi Okorafor, like a 3-novella little series, and they are releasing the bind up of it in February, so I got an arc of that, and that's one I've definitely been meaning to read. I think it's sci-fi, which is great because I want to read a little bit more of that this year. So yeah, so I've got that. Those are sort of the arcs that are in the immediate offing for me to read. And then I also have, I'll show you some books here that I'm thinking about reading. These are the ones that are sort of imminently sounding good to me. So I've got PIETR the Latvian by Simenon, and this is sort of like a French version of Golden Age of detective fiction, like it was in that same era. It's not in an English setting, it's in a French one. This is the first McGuire novel, so I'm interested to see, it's pretty short, but I would like to read it and just see if that's a series I'd like to catch up with. Dragon Shadow by L. Catherine White. This is the sequel to, sorry, I need to like rearrange these books here. This is the sequel to Heartstone, which is one of my favorite fantasies I've read in the last few years. It's basically a retelling of Pride and Prejudice, but with dragons. And this is the sequel, presumably after they've gotten married and like they defeated this big bad in the first one. So I'm curious to see where this goes. So I definitely would like to get to that. The third one comes out in September, which I'm excited about. I would like to finish reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I started reading this and was really enjoying it, but essentially just got kind of distracted. And I would like to read this to know if I want to continue in the series, because the second one is coming out later in the spring. So I want to get to that. Jane Steele is one that I've been meaning to read forever, and in the last couple days I've been like, maybe I'm in the mood for this, because it's all rainy and gross here, and this feels like a good kind of something to cuddle up with. And then finally, the third volume of Monstrous. I have read the first 2, so just want to kind of continue in the series. I think I'll probably pick this up some night when I have a couple hours before I'm going to go to bed and get through that. So that's possibly what I'm going to read next. And then let's transition into a new and exciting segment of my What I'm Reading Right Now video that is an experiment. And I want to try this for at least 3 months and we'll see how it goes. So just a second. Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to see a video on Wednesday with 19 books that I want to read in 2019. And I thought, so I've already read one of them, guys, because Trail of Lightning is on that list. But I thought that a fun way to kind of like keep that project fresh in my mind throughout the year would be to attempt to do a little reading jar action. I always enjoy this on other people's channels, and I don't know, like I'm a mood reader, but I feel like this might be a good experiment for me to see if I can do it. So my thought is I'll pick 2 titles out of this from that come from that list at my what I'm reading right now every month, and then we'll see if I can read at least one of them before the end of the month. So let's see. Jane Steele is also, you know, I'm just spoiling Wednesday's video totally, but it's also on the list, so maybe I'll get that. Okay. Oh, okay. Dare We Hope All Men Be Saved by Hans Urs von Balthasar. And then, which is pretty short, it's a, well, we'll get into that here in just a second. So the second one is The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. Okay, let me go grab Dare We Hope All Men Be Saved. Okay, N.K. Jemisin's The 5th Season I have as an ebook, so there's that. Then I also have in physical form Dare We Hope All Men Be Saved with a short discourse on hell. This is by Hans Urs von Balthasar. This is basically like a Catholic theologian's musing on the possibility of there not being a hell. And this is shorter, but I'm assuming going to be something that I have to spend a lot of time and focus to get through. Versus The 5th Season is longer, but is also like a meatier fantasy. Like it's better written from what I've gathered than a lot of fantasy is, or like it's just slower paced. So yeah, I'm gonna be totally honest, if you'd asked me 2 books I did not want to read this month, these 2 may have been in there. So I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, maybe if I defer reading The Poppy War and when I get in the mood to read a fantasy, read The 5th Season instead. But see, I'm already going to read The Wolf and a Whale, and that's like a big... So really, probably, if I'm going to end up reading one of these, it'll be this. So, okay, I'm going to have to sort of get my, like, reading serious philosophy hat on here. We'll see how that goes. I'm kind of regretting... I'm regretting everything now. So we'll see how I do. Should I pick a 3rd one? That seems like a cheat. It seems like the rules I set up were to just pick 2. I'm gonna just, for now, pick 2, and if it doesn't go well this month, I may expand to a 3rd for next month. Okay, so that was my what I'm reading right now. That ended in a mild bout of despair from me. We'll see how things go. I will just tell you guys, I bought a house. Feels crazy to say. We close on it in the next couple of weeks, so January is my last, like, kind of somewhat chill month for the next little bit, because February will be like hardcore moving. We'll see how that goes. So anyway, I just mentioned that because I think I'm gonna have to reevaluate some things in terms of like filming and all that to accommodate the need to move. But for now, everything should pretty much be staying the same. And I say that, I mean, this is gonna be one of the more chill moves I have because I'm literally only moving 2 miles away. So, and like the way rent times out versus when I'm closing, I should have plenty of time to do the move without it being super stressful. But anyway, all that to say, just so you know, towards the end of January / into February, things might start getting a little different, and I will let you know if I need to change my filming schedule at all, or if there's gonna be some switch up here. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that, and I'm rambling at this point. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a really lovely day. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. I think that will do it. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!